In this episode of Project GSR, we go to the racetrack. The last time you saw our Lancer, we fitted some new rubber and a surge tank to prevent fuel surge. We'd booked into a track day, but before we could do that, the Lancer needed a long-term service and a checkup on the dyno. We dropped in to see Barry, a serious Mitsubishi enthusiast who we worked with to flush the brakes and clutch systems. This led to changing the diff, gearbox and transfer case with new fluids. From what we saw come out, this was long overdue. With a full service done, we next met Ben Dinello down at APS Service Centre in Frankston. The aim for the day was to check where the engine tune was currently at before the next day at the track. After performing a long overdue firmware update to the ECU, the guys found that this resulted in the boost controller to be reset, so that had to be all set up again. Once that was done, the tuning began.
Ben and I have come down to APS just to have a look at the tune in the car, because it hasn't been checked for probably pretty much since it was originally tuned with the Vipex, so it's probably 6 years ago. So we're just going to check that the AFRs are all good for tomorrow out on the track. It's going to be a very hot day, so it's going to stay pretty fat conservative. So I don't really want to be blowing this thing up. Previously, way back, the car only made about 170 kilowatt, so it's only horsepower. Not much. I don't expect it to make more than say 170, 180. So it's not. When it makes 145. If it makes 145, yeah, that's not good. It's also to see if the engine's still healthy, I guess. I'm not that worried about the power, because later on when we do injectors and all that, that's when we're trying to get power out of it. This is really just a check-up to see the cars are right, because if I took it tomorrow to the track, had an issue, it'd be pretty stupid if I thought, why didn't I get this thing looked at? Yeah. Can you fit a barrier in there, Lewis?
You probably really wouldn't want to. Too many headaches and you spend too much time online answering questions.
So how do you tune a barrier? Probably add 200 kilos. Get on Facebook?
Yeah, no, you can get a lot of really good info on Facebook about barrel tuning. There's a copy-paste technique that seems to work pretty good.
Perfect fit. LS the world. Removed the boost gauge that came in the car when I bought it, and honestly the last 5 years I wouldn't even know a boost it's on. I'm guessing 16 to 18 pounds. I wouldn't think it'd be running any more than that though.
Just tuning the air conditioning is really good.
195.9 kilowatts, pretty good power. Everything's boost curve smooth. Yeah, they've fattened it up a bit. I think the fuel target was about 11.5, and it's consistently making high 180s, 195 then. So when it comes on the boost, they're just riching it up, and now it's sitting on about 14. It's holding 14 pound boost. It's not dropping off. It's making that power at 70, I think nearly 7,300.
With the mixture safe and the boost set to a moderate setting, the car was ready for a thrashing. We arrived early at Sandown Raceway on a warm and muggy morning. Sandown is located in Melbourne's outer eastern suburbs and is surrounded by residential housing, so there are noise limits imposed at this track. That's not a problem with this car though, as it's fairly quiet. The day was organised by Tampered Motorsport. Anyone is welcome at these days, with cars grouped together in classes based on lap times or driver experience.
We've just arrived at Sandown Raceway. We're going to do a track day today and see how these Bridgestone RE71R go on the track. I'm expecting them to be pretty grippy. We'll probably do 3 or 4 sessions and we'll take it as it comes, see if the car stays at a cool temperature and if I stay at a cool temperature. Scrutineering dictates you've got to tape up your glass. So in case we had an incident, these things would just shatter and be all over the track, so the cleanup would be pretty time consuming. So this, well, it's not perfect, but it will help this kind of stay together. Hopefully I'm not shunting anyone. This is, they call this a transponder. So they give these to each car, and this is how the timing system works. So it'll go through some other marker on the straight there, and that's when this, the lap starts and stops. So you don't have to do anything, this thing just works automatically. And every car's obviously got a unique number. So we've just driven the car here, and these tyres, well, this one I've only checked one so far, is on 37 PSI. I'm going to drop that to about 32 for the first session. Every time we come in, we'll have to check the tyre pressure, because naturally when they heat up, they'll increase you'll probably easily see an extra 3 PSI after each session, and then we have to keep bleeding that off, just to keep it consistent. 35.6.
A quick driver's briefing, and it was time to get out on the track.
So just waiting in the dummy grid to go out for the first laps. I'll be taking this pretty easy and see what get a feel for the track. I've never actually done fast laps around Sandown. I've been around in other cars, but not actual circuit days, doing other events. This ought to be good fun. It's a pretty muggy day today. I think the temperature is scheduled to be about 32 or something. They put me in this semi-beginner class, which isn't bad because I've never been around the circuit. So they try and group cars so they're in a similar time frame, because you don't want slow and fast cars on the track at the same time. It's too dangerous. You kind of want cars keeping their distance and their lap times kind of at least in the same bracket. It's also a test to see how the surge tank goes today. The surge tank obviously should solve this issue we've had previously in this car. Yeah, these tyres are nice. And I'm not even going quick yet, they feel good.
It was good to get the first session out of the way. We have nearly an hour between sessions, so that lets the car cool down and the tyres. A quick tyre check and we were ready to go out again.
After the last session, oh, they're not bad. They're actually on 30, 31. Hang on, I'm playing with my nuts.
Another session done, and this one definitely felt better. I was more familiar with the track and how the car was handling. It was time I checked out what lap times I was doing and to see if I was actually improving.
What? 132. So how much you've chopped off from the first? The first session I did 137 driving like Miss Daisy. That was a 132. I was definitely, I knew straight away that it was a quicker lap time. I was a bit loose, but I had more confidence in the car then. I was throwing it into the corners definitely faster. The tyres are excellent. A lot of grip. I don't think I really noticed them going off that much at all. Compared to a regular street tyre, really good. I mean, I reckon with an experienced driver, you could easily get this car into the 20s, no problem. I mean, I'm way off the pace of what an experienced driver would do in that car. So after 2 sessions with these new Bridgestones, I'm finding the car's got a lot more grip. That session I pushed it a lot harder. Starting to actually show I'm starting to use the tyre. I was hitting the curbs then, rather than the first session I was pretty timid, but you could definitely throw this car into the corner harder again. It's got grip. The tyres definitely aren't letting the car down, so I put it that way. They're excellent. I can't recommend enough going from a regular road tyre to something like this. It's massive increase in grip. So I've got a fellow Lancer owner here. You've had the car a week.
Had it 1 week.
1 week. And you're already killing it.
Yeah, that's it.
It was a Subaru.
Oh, the box would have been blown, engine would have been blown, everything would have been blown already. Still going.
You don't actually see many Ford G93s anymore. A lot of them are converted.
No, nothing special.
Push the car harder. I was pushing it under brakes more, but I don't reckon I got a clean lap together. But yeah, I was pushing the braking better, and the tyres were still not giving me any drummers at all. Like it just keeps showing I'm not braking hard enough in the car. I keep throwing more brakes at it, and I was coming onto the turn 1 with more speed, and it was fine. A few times I braked probably a bit late, but the car didn't move around much at all into braking. It's really good. One hot lap, I think I ballsed up turn 1. But it's awesome fun, man. They've definitely come back. Oh yeah, and the cars ran really well. The water temp hasn't moved. I've even been running the aircon on in the pits. I haven't really had any brake fade. I haven't had any surging issues whatsoever, especially out of these second gear corners where you're really punching it on a lot of load out of second gear. That's when I used to have issues. It's been faultless. The car's used about it's used a good third of a tank, probably even more in 3 sessions. Yeah, so the tyres are warming up to temp pretty good, and I haven't felt like they've been overheating at all. It's really good, especially that session I was braking a bit harder. This car's only got pretty average brakes, so I was impressed how well the car's braking, which means it's got a lot of grip.
The road kill. This poor bastard's still alive.
So from this morning we picked up, I think 6 seconds. That session I improved by 0.7. But I kind of mucked up and didn't drop the tyre pressure, so it probably should have been a bit better. My lap was actually a bit messy because I was pushing a bit harder. It shows you that you can't be too aggressive either, but I've got no doubt you could probably go 3 more seconds quicker in this car with a more experienced driver. I'm wrapped with the tyres. They're so much better than a regular street tyre. A testament to the good old Mitsubishi 4G. We had it on the dyno yesterday. It probably did at least 15 power runs. Today it's had 3 sessions. You know, it's pretty much in 4th gear flat out the whole day. Hasn't breathed 1 drop of oil. Great day at Sandown today. I really enjoyed it actually. I need to come out and do more of this more often, but obviously I'm always filming other people race. But I think the next stage we'll probably do with this car is an E85 upgrade. I think that I'd rather do that before doing a turbo. I guess I'm keen to see the results in E85 on a relatively mild engine setup. A lot of people do 85 big turbo and obviously make a lot of power and so forth, but how will it go on basically a stockish car? It probably would help today. Saying that, the car actually ran really well, didn't once overheat, brakes didn't overheat. I'm happy with it. I think the gearbox, I don't know how long that'll last. It's getting a bit stiffer to shift, but overall very happy. See you in the next episode of Project GSR.